All right, folks, welcome back. This is going to be DOS 2.11 to DOS 3.30 upgrade, and then just a quick run through of what all came with the DOS 3.3 operating system. In the last video, you saw how hard it was to upgrade from DOS 1.25 to DOS 2.11. DOS 3.3 is just about as easy, but now DOS 3.3 supports the hard disk setup in VirtualBox. We'll be able to actually install DOS on a hard disk and try and boot from a hard disk inside of a virtual machine. Stick around. Oh yeah, all that fancy YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, hit the join button, see the description below for Patreon, other ways to support the channel, all that cool stuff. Okay, we have the MS-DOS VirtualBox machine here ready to roll. We have a 20 meg hard disk connected, just like we did last time. And we have the DOS 2.1 floppy disks from the leading edge source. Let's start her up. Verify everything's still working. I always like to start from a known good spot. There's our autoexec bat file. It says, have a nice DOS. And the leading edge version 2.11. Version 2.11. All right, let's turn her off. We don't even need to turn it off. Let's leave it on. Let's change out the floppy disks. Let's get rid of that one. Let's change this one here over to... see if I can find it. Disk 1. Let's change that second one to disk 2. 360K floppy disks. Were those double-sided double density? Or was that still single density? I think that's DSDD, double-sided double density. All right, got the right floppy disks in. Go back to DOS 2.1. Let's hit the reset button. And now it's asking for the date and time, 8/15/2020. Looks like it's got clock support. Time is 11:48. That's also correct. MS-DOS 3.30. There you go. Upgraded. Let's try that prompt again. Prompt. Let's try spelling. $P, $G. My favorite prompt. Let's see what's on the A drive, the first disk image. Oh, we've got CPI files. Those were code pages. So that was a way to change the character sets. ANSI sys, append. Append. All right, let's create some scratch files. CopyCon, scratch 1, scratch 1, CopyCon, scratch 2. Scratch 2. Let's run append, scratch, spelling counts, scratch 1 with scratch 2. And I spelled append wrong. Well, that ain't working. No built-in help? Is that an exe or a com file? I can't remember. Oh. This is not what I thought this was. I think this is a way... yeah, let me go look this up. I think I know what this is. I think this is a way to add a disk drive to the end of another disk drive or something like that. Let me take a look. I'll be right back. So no, I was totally wrong. What append does is similar to the path command. So the path command will let you search in a bunch of different folders for executable files so they don't all have to be in the current folder. What the append command does is it enables programs to search for their data files the same way the operating system searches for executable command or batch files. And it never really was useful to me, which is why I don't really remember it. I remember that it existed. I remember what it did after I looked it up. It made perfect sense. But I never really... I always knew where my files were. I always went to the folder that I kept my files in, and there they were. I didn't need to find a WordPerfect document just by typing its name, even though it's in 4 folders over from the current folder that I'm in. It just wasn't a thing. Modern operating systems, it's pretty nice because you have humongous amounts of storage space and lots of files you're dealing with. One of my favorite things is the Spotlight search in Mac OS, where you can just hit Command Space and type a file name, and it finds it, and then you press Enter, and it launches the program that is associated with it, and the file opens up on your screen. That's perfect. Couldn't really do that in DOS 3.3. You would launch WordPerfect, you would go to the File Open command, there'd be a little file browser tool there that was really nice, and you could move around to the folder and find the file, and it was perfect. Or with Append, you could type in the file name, and it would find it magically. But it just wasn't a thing, like it is still not a thing today. All right, where were we? We'll keep those scratch files. We might need them later. Assign, we covered that in the last one. A trib is the built-in DOS version of the extra command that we saw in MS-DOS 2.11 from Leading Edge, chmod, which they probably stole from the Unix system, or Unix stole it from them, I don't know. A trib, let's see what it says. Invalid number of parameters, because it was always so helpful. Let's do one of our scratch files. A trib scratch 1. And it tells me that it has the archive bit, so I can do a trib /s, maybe? Scratch 1. Okay. I think I just added the archive bit to a file that already had the archive bit, and it very lovingly did exactly what I said. Nope. We have online help yet? No online help. Why am I going to type man? That was just total muscle memory right there. So this is an executable file, and all executable files started with the letters MZ, which was the initials of the guy that created the file format. That's what you could do back then. I think you can still do it today as long as you keep it quiet. And that's all gibberish. If you didn't know what you were doing and you didn't have a book to rely on that gave you all of the command information, you were pretty much lost. Okay, so we're not changing the attributes. Let's do a quick search. I was so close. Plus R, scratch 1. And now it has the archive and the read-only attribute. Let's see if it's smart enough to not let me delete the file. Access denied. Ooh, high security. -R. Gone. I still am the ruler of this kingdom. I am still the ruler of this kingdom? All right. Check disk we went over, see if it looks any different. Oh, now we have volume labels on floppy disks. And volume creation times. So a little different. We already know what command is. Comp is the same thing. Let's make that scratch1 file again. First, let's see what scratch2 says. And they are different. Compare error at offset H. Let's see. STRA, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's where the, it started with 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so as you can tell, the 8th character is different. File 1 is 31, file 2 is 32. It's probably the ASCII code for the number 1 and the number 2. No, I don't want to compare more files. Let's double check that. If that is the ASCII code and we change file 2 to say scratch 3, let's just create a scratch 3 file. Comp scratch 1 and scratch 3. Yep, 31 and 33. Perfect. So 31, 32, and 33 are the ASCII codes for 31, for 1, 2, and 3. And this version of DOS 3.3, these are actually the official Microsoft disks. There is an image that I will overlay here of what those floppy disks look like. So there shouldn't be any third party, any weird stuff going on. That was comp. Country.sys is a way to change the country code. It'll go along with the code pages that are there, 4201, 5202. Disk comp is comparing two disks to each other. Disk comp A:. Insert first disk in drive A, press any key. It read a bunch of it, insert second disk in drive A, press any key. And the two compare okay. So there's actually enough memory to copy the entire 360K floppy disk into RAM and then compare it to the second disk. And you could sit here all day long if you had a lot of disks to compare. If that was your job, insert disk into drive A. It reads it. Insert disk into the second disk that you want to compare into drive A. It reads that. Great. Do you want to compare another one? Yes. And it's going to use the same parameters A and A. And they still compare. What a shock. So let's do disk comp A:, and B:, since we have two floppy disk drives in this system. And these disks don't compare. Insert the first disk in drive A, the second disk in drive B. And there's all the compare errors. So they don't compare. There's not really a lot you can do. I mean, I guess you could go into a disk level editor and flip the bits at side 1 track 39 and side 0 track 39, but what you would more than likely do is just copy the disk again and then run the compare tool again. All right, disk copy, same thing as before. And again, it'll copy up to all of available memory that it has, and then it'll ask you for the second disk, and then it will write out all of that information that it has. And it's smart enough to copy just enough chunks into memory, switch disks, write enough chunks out, switch disks back if the disk contents are bigger than RAM allows for. Display.sys is a display driver. Let's see what that does. Display.sys is new in DOS 3.3, and it is a code page support driver. And it works with EGA video cards and then you give it the code page that you want it to load, and it can support additional code pages besides just one. Okay. Edlin again. Still not touching Edlin. Not going to do it. exe to bin. We did that before. Fast open. Incorrect number of parameters. Fast open was a file caching tool. Yeah, so it's preliminary disk caching. According to Wikipedia, the command works with hard disk, but not with diskettes, probably for security when swapping or with network drives. Probably because such drives do not offer block level access, only file level access. Yeah, so fast open is going to actually remember the position on disk of the bits of data that you're trying to search for and reuse that are frequently used. And if you tried to rearrange the disk underneath of fast open and then tried to open a file, it would actually give you the data of the file that was at those sectors on the disk where they used to be, not where they currently are. So you would always have to reboot after you were done. So yeah, preliminary disk caching tool got replaced by Smart Drive in the future, and there was a couple of third-party tools out there that did it. Fdisk. So can we finally get the hard disk rolling and get DOS installed on the hard disk? Fdisk. All right, let's display partition information, and it is a primary DOS partition. This is the partition I showed you in the 2.1 video. I'd already snuck ahead and played with this a little bit just to see if it could do the things I wanted it to do. But let's go ahead and delete that anyway and show it from scratch what it would look like. So let's delete the DOS partition, delete the primary DOS partition. So you could have a 40 meg hard drive, and if you wanted to put a partition on it, DOS could only address 32 megs at a time. So you would make a 32 meg partition, which was your primary bootable partition, and then you would use up the rest of the disk in an 8 meg partition, which was your extended partition. So that's why it just asked about primary and extended. And it's now warning me, it's actually blinking because that was technology back in the day, that I will lose all of the data if I do this. And yes, I want to lose all of the data that doesn't exist on that partition. All right, so now we display partition information and there's nothing there. Let's create a DOS partition. So now let's create a DOS partition. And we'll create a primary DOS partition. And do I wish to use the maximum size? Yes. Now I've created it and it wants to reboot. And I haven't even been able to use it or anything. Let's go back in and just look at the one that we created. It is a primary DOS partition. It starts at cylinder 0. It runs for 39 cylinders. It has a size of 40 cylinders. All right, so we've already created it. Let's see if it's active. It is active. Right. Yes, that really annoys me, so I want to change it. Now we've run fdisk, and the next one is find. I showed you find. Let's see if find can do dir pipe to find. Sort. Hey, it found sort. dir pipe to find /I for ignore case sort. It still didn't like it, but it did find it and it ignored the case anyway. And format. Let's format that new partition that we created. C:, it should switch over to it. When you run dir, it's blank. Okay, I didn't format it. That's probably just an artifact of the VirtualBox software. Format C:. All data on non-removable disk will be lost. Well, of course it will. I'm telling you to format it. And it formatted. 20,553,728 bytes total disk space, and all of it is available. I did not copy the operating system on because I wanted to show you how the sys command works that I've been holding out on from all those previous videos. Sys C:, system transferred. And now you can see that there is 53,248 bytes and 2 hidden files. And since they are hidden, won't be able to see them. And we have 640K of memory available and only 599 free. So some of that is taken up by the operating system itself. And since the stuff is hidden, you can see that you can't see those files. Yes, you can see that you can't see those files. There was a way to see that with the dir command. So there's no path on this machine, and trying to run the attrib command from the A drive when you're on the C drive didn't work. So let's do path equals // Now, let's run attrib. And I pulled it off of the A drive and ran it, and it didn't work because I didn't give it enough parameters. Let's go back to the A drive. Graph table. No version of graphics character set table is already loaded. USA version of graphics character set table has just been loaded. Well, thank you. That's very nice. All right, so graph table was a way of displaying non-standard characters on the screen if your screen couldn't handle displaying those non-standard characters on its own. I don't have any non-standard characters to display. Graphics is that graphical print screen command. All right, let's see what's next. Join. Okay, so join was a way to see the contents of one disk inside of a folder on another disk. So let's go to our C drive. Let's say make a test folder. See, there's nothing in the test folder. Join A:/C:/files, so /test. All right, so now we have the C drive with the test folder, and we go into the test folder, and there's all the files off of the A drive. Not really sure why you'd want to do that, but you can do that, and that's what that does. Key B has not been installed. Active code page not available from con device. And that's because I didn't give it one to do it, but this is more internationalization stuff. Label. So label should tell me that the volume in drive C is MS330PP01. And I don't want to change that, and I don't want to delete it because I don't remember setting a label for the C drive. So let's change to the parent directory, and let's join/d to get rid of that. Oops, /join/d /join /d /join C:/d. Okay, so that's how that's supposed to work. Oh, there's no A drive because I've joined them. I get what's going on. All right, much better. All right, so what was going on was I had joined the A drive to the test folder on the C drive, which then removed the A drive from existence. So when I tried to run the command on the A drive, it couldn't find the command, and I thought the invalid drive specification error was coming from me trying to go to the A drive. No, sorry, I thought the invalid drive specification command was coming from the parameter to join of the C:/ or the A:, not from the fact that the A drive no longer existed because it was joined to the C drive. This is where stuff like that can get confusing, obviously, because it confused me. So I went into the test folder and I ran the join command from the test folder, which is a joined folder on the C drive pointing back to the A drive, and because it's joined, it no longer shows up as the A drive. Are you with me now? Good, because I'm not even with me. Anyway, I removed that. And back to the label command that I was already playing with, you can see that the C drive has no label, and when it was joined, it took the label of the A drive. So even DOS was confused with its own command at that point. So now we're on the C drive, we're in the test folder. There's nothing in the test folder because I have unjoined the A drive from it. Let's go back to the root directory. There's the test folder. This drive has no label. Let's go to the A drive. Let's run label C:. And it should tell me that it has no label and it wants to know if I want to create one. Let's call it C drive. And now if we're on the A drive, you can see that the label on the A drive is MS330PP01, which is what it was before. I didn't want to enter a new one. No, I don't want to change it. Let's do label C:. Spell label the English way, the American way, not the English way. I guess it's both English, but American English versus British English. And now you can see the label, the volume label for the drive C is C drive like we told it we wanted it to be. And I'm going to go ahead and delete it because I can. And now volume in drive C has no label. Volume in drive C has no label. Let's call it not C. And now the volume in drive C is not C. Awesome. NOT-C. That's the label command. What's next? Mode. This is the same mode command as it was before. So there's your 40-column text. Ooh, pretty. Let's get rid of that. All right, back to what we were doing. That's what you could do with the mode command. Mode command would also do some other interesting things. More we showed you before. NLS func. I don't remember myself what NLS func was. Let me look that up real quick. Oh, yeah. More internationalization, country code page stuff. Print, PRN. Yep, and that's the line printer spooler thing that we were talking about before. Recover. Let's see if it still has that same hidden message inside of it. Converted, MZ. So it used to be an executable file and they converted it to a COM file for some reason. But the boss got on him. No more hidden messages inside of the recover command. Select. Select is used to install DOS the first time. Select erases everything on the specified target and then installs DOS. Do you want to continue? I didn't specify a target, so I'm going to say no. Select C:. Yes. Invalid number of parameters. All right, let's go look up the parameters. Okay, so we need a source and a destination. Select AC. Yes. Incorrect number of parameters still. Not happy. Because it wants code page and keyboard. .437 code page, keyboard would be US. Invalid country code. All right, I'm going to need some more information. Okay, so that was fun. What I found out is that Select would customize the OS install for different countries, and it did not support US. So I could set this up for Spain or for Austria or for Great Britain, but I couldn't set this up for the US because they wanted you to do that manually. I don't know. All right, next up is sort. That's going to work the same as it did last time. Yay! And again, not having a book means that you've got to remember all this stuff or you've got to look it up every time. And I've been doing a little bit of looking up now, but I thought there was a way to invert the sort. If you know, leave a comment below. Substitute was a way to change drive letters. So I could substitute the Z drive for a path. It's kind of like join, only it's the exact opposite of join. So for join, I could take an entire disk and make that a subfolder on another disk. With substitute, I can take a folder on a disk and make it appear to be an entirely different disk, if that makes any sense. Let's go to the C drive. We have a test folder. Inside the test folder, let's see if there's anything in there. There's not. Copy con test one. You know what? I'm going to do this even faster. All right, so now we've got 3 folders. Substitute the T drive for C:\test. And the T drive might be out of the range of drive letters to choose from, but let's try it anyway. Invalid parameter. I still have a path? I do still have a path. Awesome. D:\C:\test. Now if we go to the D drive, first off we'll see the C drive. We'll see that inside the test folder there are test 1, test 2, test 3. And now we're on the D drive, and you can see that the volume label is still not C. So that came over. And we're on a new drive. And you can see test 1, test 2, test 3. And one of the things that's a little interesting is you can see parent directories, the dot and dot dot. Dot in DOS is the current directory, dot dot is the parent directory. So those files actually still show up inside of the file allocation table for this folder, so they still show up on the screen. Because they are in fact still there, but they shouldn't be there because this is supposed to be a disk. So some tools would understand that this was a substituted drive letter and be okay with it, and some would freak out because it wasn't supposed to be, and some of them were fine. So some understood and accepted it, some didn't understand and it didn't matter, and some didn't understand and tried to understand harder than they should have and got nasty about it. So there you go. So go back to the C drive, substitute D:\D to undo that, and now there's no more D drive. All right, so, and our files on the test folder are still there. Ta-da! I did use that one a lot because I wanted to have my tools folder on the T drive or something along those lines, just to make my life a little bit cleaner, neater, and easier. But I didn't use the join. What else do we have? We did fine, we did keyboard, we did print, sys. We did sys earlier, and that's the last one on that drive. B drive, let's see what's on the B drive. Backup, debug, GW basic, the keyboard driver, a code page that looks good on LCD screens, and a code page that looks good on EGA screens. Link would be the linker. Printer's a printer driver. RAM drive is the RAM disk that we talked about. Replace. Replace. I don't remember replace. All right, let's see. Replace. Oh, because it's on the B drive. Path equals a : / semicolon b : /. Hey, source path required. Replace test. No files in test. No files replaced. All right, let's see what the world tells us replace command does. Because it's not terribly obvious, just playing with it. Oh, this seems very useful. Replaces stored files with files of the same name from a different storage location. This is why I don't remember it. Because I would just use the copy command. So they show an example that says to replace all copies of the file main.exe on all directories within the root directory of drive C with the file of the same name that is stored in the special directory on drive A, enter replace space a colon backslash special backslash main.exe on the C drive C colon backslash slash S. So go through all subdirectories. I don't know why I would want to do that. But you can. There you go. All right, what else is on the B drive? Restore is the opposite of backup. Share. Oh, there we go. That feels like a good share. See what this is. Some obscure commands on here. Install support for file sharing or file locking. Okay. This could really get you in trouble. So the operating system has the ability to lock a file. You load up WordPerfect, you open up a file, termpaper.doc, or I guess it'd be termpaped, termpapr.doc, because DOS only allowed you to have 8-character file names with 3-character extensions. And you can then go to another program somewhere else and open that file up a second time, but the two programs would need to cooperate with each other, and that's where share comes in. Ordinarily, WordPerfect would lock the file, and if somebody else tried to open it, it would not allow them to open it. Which is great. It would say, can't access the file, and you would know that it was in use. But share would allow the file to be accessed multiple times by different programs, and you could get yourself into a lot of trouble. Tree. Let's go to the C drive and see what tree does. Yep, that's great. So path test and test2, those are the two folders. So this is telling me all of the subfolders on there. Xcopy. Xcopy is a better version of copy than copy was. Xcopy allowed for copying subfolders and files, and it allowed for using up all of available memory. FC, I believe, is file compare. Yeah. So let's go to C drive. Let's go to test folder. There's some test files. These files all contain the same data. No differences encountered. Absolutely correct. Let's go to the A drive. Are my scratch files still there? Yep. FC scratch 1 and scratch 2. Hey, look, the files are different, and there's the contents of what are different between the two files. So you can see how that's already more helpful than the comp command was. All right, let's go on the B drive. I think that's it. That's it. Okay, so now we have done the partitioning of the C drive, and we've done sys on the C drive. System transferred, yay. And I think this is not going to work because it's missing command com. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the floppy disks out of the machine and prove that. Remove disk. And remove disk. Hit OK. Come over here, A colon. And there's no disk in the drive. So now let's reset the machine. And it should not boot because it's missing the command com. Bad or missing command interpreter. So even the sys command was kind of not as useful as you'd want it to be. Let's put those floppy disks back in. Storage. Disk 1. Storage. Disk 2. Okay, new date, new time. And let's go through the how to install DOS 3.3 to your hard disk setup. It's Christmas morning and you got a brand new hard disk and you spent all morning reading the manuals and setting it up and into your machine, and you turn it on and nothing looks any different. This is actually something that my dad used to do. He would get my mom Christmas presents for the computer and he would install them in the computer, and because the computer doesn't give you any information that they exist, you would never know. So she wouldn't know until Christmas morning, and he would take her in and he'd say, remove the disk from the A drive and turn the machine on and see what happens. And she's like, it's not going to work. It never works, because it doesn't work. And so she would turn it on and it would boot up and it would show her a C prompt and said, what's that? So that was always something neat that my dad did for my mom. All right, got my prompt back that I like. And let's do fdisk to partition the hard disk. Let's delete the partition. Let's delete the primary. Yes, let's get rid of it. Hey, it's gone. And now it wants to reboot. And we rebooted because that's how fast this computer was. And let's go to the C drive. Invalid drive specification. Perfect. Let's try to format the C drive with the /s switch to copy the system files. It's still an invalid drive specification because there's still no drive there. I'm just showing you that there's no drive there. fdisk, create a DOS partition, create a primary DOS partition, make it the full size, and it will reboot. All right, C:, and there's nothing in the C drive. All right, go back to the A drive, format, C:/S. Yes, I want to format it. All right, it is formatted and there are files copied by the system. And now we have the command.com file. All right, let me get my prompt back the way I like it. Okay, so now there's a command.com file. What we did was we md DOS, and then we cd DOS, and then we copy /***. And in DOS, you didn't need to tell it a destination. It would just automatically assume the destination was the current folder. And 37 files copied. And then we copy /*** to get all of those extra files on the B drive. There we go. Now there's a bunch of files in there, including my Scratch files that I created. So let's delete Scratch star. Scratch files are gone. Let's go back to the A drive. Let's delete them from there. Let's delete Scratch ? So the star was replace anything else that you find is acceptable. The question mark is only this one character can be replaced and not any other characters. Ah. You guys didn't tell me the whole time that was sitting there that I typed out the word delete completely. All right, C:. And it remembered the path that we were in. Let's change back to the root directory. And I'll show you a quick wildcard demonstration. Make dir test, cd test, echo dot greater than test1 dot text, echo dot greater than test2 dot text, echo hello greater than test3.text. That echo dot with no spaces is a quick way to just put a blank line inside of a file. So if you type test1.text, you'll see that there's nothing in there except for the carriage return line feed at the end of the line. And if you type test3.text, you'll see that the text hello is in there. And if I do echo greater than test4.text, let's see what that did. Probably not what you think it's going to do. Echo is on, because when you type the echo command with nothing, it will tell you whether the echo is on or the echo is off. And now the echo is off. An echo is the way to put text on the screen, or it is also a way to have the computer spit the commands back on the screen that you have typed in. So there you go. Let's look at our folder that we've got. Test 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I want to delete test ? star.text. That's going to delete all the files in this folder that match that wildcard pattern. The question mark meaning only replace that space in the command with file names that you find. So as you can imagine, it has removed all the files in the folder. So let's create some files that it might demonstrate the point a little bit better. Test24.text. All right, so now we've got two files with two different names. Let's do delete test .text. And which files do you think are going to be gone now? Only the one that had the single character, because I only asked it to replace a single character. So let's put the test3 file back. And let's do dir to show it. We got test24 and test3, and now we can do del test star and see what happens. File not found. That's because DOS treats the file extensions as a completely separate thing and won't bring them in that kind of wildcard. So we have to do star.star, or we can do star.text. Either one will get to the same result in this case. So let's do star.star. There you go. And you can't do wildcards like that because it's just not that smart. That just won't work. So you do rd test. And it was just not that smart on purpose. It didn't want you to hurt yourself. All right, so we've got the drive installed in the machine. We have run fdisk to create partitions on it. We have done format c:/s. We've made a directory DOS. We've copied the contents of the A drive and the B drive, the disk in the A and the disk in the B drive, to the DOS folder. Now we need to remove those files, remove those disks from the machine. Let's go in here, storage, and remove disk, and remove disk. All right, come back here, A:, nothing, fail, B:, nothing, fail, C:, we've got stuff in the C drive. All right, let's reboot the machine. Poof. It's asking me for the date, which is correct, and the time, which is correct. DOS 3.3, and no prompt, and we're on the C drive, and there's still nothing in the A drive. So we go back to the C drive. And this is where the autoexec bat would come in handy. Let's make one of those. Copy con greater than autoexec.bat at echo off. The date and time are remembered by the computer with its magical real-time clock and battery backup system. C:/DOS. And set our prompt. And then let's echo welcome to DOS 3.3. And you don't need the quotes, that's just a habit. Save the file. That wasn't right. I don't know why it's saying one file is copied. All right, let's see if it works. I think there's more than 26 bytes in that file of data that I typed. Yeah. Why did it do that? I'm gonna look back on the video and find out why it did that. Hang on. All right, so future Steve figured it out. And now we're back in the present. And what I did was I said copy con greater than autoexec. So all the stuff that I typed on the console was then, when I exited, Control-Z, pressed enter, was then written to the autoexec.bat file. So that was what the problem was. The computer did exactly what I told it to. Very obedient machine, even though it wasn't the right thing to do. Echo off. Prompt spelled properly. $P, $G, space, $, path equals C:\\DOS. And then I want to say echo. Welcome to DOS 3.30. And then we will save the file. All right, now we can do this right way. Auto exec. Hey, look, there it is. Now let's reboot. Welcome to DOS 3.30. And there's my C prompt. And now anything that's in the DOS folder, like GW Basic, will run. And let's see if we can break out of a basic program now. Can't do it. I think that has to do with VirtualBox more than anything else. Break on. Let's try with break on and see if that makes any difference. And print. Nope, still can't do it. Okay, so this is a, I'm running VirtualBox. I'm running MS-DOS 3.3 on VirtualBox on Mac OS on a MacBook Pro that I'm doing the video recording on. This computer does not have a break key, which is probably why I can't press the break key. So there you have it, DOS 3.3. Coming up next in this series, I will start installing some programs that I used when I was first introduced to DOS 3.3 and go through those, like Central Point PC Tools or Norton Utilities or any of the other fun things. Maybe some batch files, maybe some programs that I wrote. I actually wrote a whole menu system that would start up with the computer, and we'll get into that in the next video. See you then. Thanks for being awesome.